Hi, this is Tammy Barstow with Tammy Barstow Team 292 Sold and Daniel Pryor. And today we have our wonderful Jen Lee with Jen Lee Law and her excellent elephant, for not forgetting Bernadette. And I hope you guys get that, Bernadette. But Jen is going to be going over all the tricks, tips, and myths of your credit scores, because there's so many different things out there and we wanted to get it directly from her and get real talk. So Jen, go ahead and introduce yourself and show us your fabulous presentation. If you have any questions, please put in the chat box directly to Jen your questions, and she will read them anonymously. So don't worry about any questions you ask. She'll be happy to answer them near the end. And thanks, Jen, for being here. We love Jen and love referring her. She does a fabulous job.
Thank you, Tammy. It's fun to be here. This is soapbox topic for me, is talking about finances and credit and debt. There's all kinds of things we can talk about, but we're talking about mostly credit scores today. We will touch a little bit on some debt, and I often get questions about scams and things like that too that are out there. So nothing is really off limits when it comes to debt and credit. Feel free to put it in chat. I am going to share my screen so that you all can see my lovely slides that are going to start here. And so I do have chat open and happy to answer chat questions. So put them in there. And this is called Financial Fitness Do's and Don'ts about your credit score. There's so many bad things out there about your credit score that are wrong. And so my purpose of this is just to educate and get people on the right track. Whether you're graduating from high school and going to college, or graduating from college and going to your first job, trying to buy a house, just looking at the next stage in your life, a lot of times there are things that you can do now to prepare for that and be in a better place later. So as Tammy, my name is Jen Lee. I own a law firm called Jen Lee Law, and we are based in California, Northern California mostly, but I handle cases all over California. And we call ourselves debt and credit strategy attorneys. And if that sounds made up, it is. I used to be a bankruptcy attorney. I still do a lot of bankruptcy work. However, I found that over the years, a lot of people need advice about debt and credit, that it's not really bankruptcy, but they need good legal advice to make sure they're not falling for scams, not falling for a quick fix, a silver bullet type situation. And so I found over the years that I like helping people get on track without necessarily needing bankruptcy. Although I will say bankruptcy is a good tool, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on effects on credit score. Tammy mentioned my elephant. So my elephant in the room, and if you ever see me live, I do have a stuffed elephant that comes with me. Her name is Bernadette, and she is about 12 inches tall. She's had headshots done. And the elephant in the room came up because 70% of Americans have a debt or credit problem of some sort. Picture that. You walk into a room and 7 out of 10 people that you see in the room have a debt or credit problem, and no one talks about it. Everyone thinks they're alone, that they're struggling, that everyone would look down on them if they actually knew what kinds of financial stress they had, when really everyone around you has the same problems. And so the reason why I talk about these topics so much is because I want to normalize talking about debt and credit so that you can better educate yourself and then stay out of problems in the future. So you don't need a bankruptcy attorney. You don't need a debt and credit attorney. So Bernadette makes that a little bit more of a easier to talk about subject sometimes. She's a little soft and cuddly to make a hard topic easier. But talking about credit scores, there is so much bad information about credit scores, especially on the internet. And so I'm going to go through what's actually in your credit score and then some myths. So payment history. The number one thing you can do to improve your credit is pay your debts on time that are reported on your credit. Payment history is 35% of your score. And if you have one late payment, oftentimes that can lower your score up to 100 to even 200 points. And the reason why I know that is because I had a client one time who had an 820 credit score, and he had a identity theft issue, and someone charged up a department store card, didn't pay it. He called into the department store. They told him, don't pay it. We'll have our fraud department handle it. So he didn't pay it. They reported him late on his credit. He went from an 820 to a 620 in 1 month. based on just that one payment history issue. So we had a 30-day late. Make your payments on time. Credit utilization. So this is often the most misunderstood part of credit scores. Credit utilization is how much of your limit you're using, for lack of a better term. So how much of your credit you're actually using. As an example, if you have a card with a $1,000 limit, you want to keep less than $300 on that card because that would be 30% utilization. If you have a $1,000 limit and every month your balance is reported at $999, that's going to lower your credit score because you're using up all of your credit on that one card. It doesn't matter how many cards you have. If you max one card, it will lower your score. So often it gets confused between, oh, I have $100,000 of open credit on credit lines because I have lots of credit cards that I'm not using, but I max out this one every month and pay it off. That can lower your credit score because it looks by card how much credit are you using. And so a lot of people think it's across all cards. Length of credit history. How long you've had credit is an important part of your score. It's about 15% of your score. And some of the misconceptions often come about length of credit history too when you close accounts, where I talk about that in a few minutes. But length of credit history is the older you are, the longer you've had credit, the better your score can be. I think the optimal length of credit history is around 30 years. And so you want to keep your credit lines open, you want to keep credit cards open and have them in good standing. Length of credit history, again, the older that you get, the better it is. If you get a credit card when you're young or you're added as an authorized user, sometimes you can fool that length of credit history part of your credit score a little bit. Inquiries. Inquiries are when someone checks your credit. So if a creditor, like a car lender, mortgage company, whoever runs your credit to see if you qualify for lending, that shows up as an inquiry. The only inquiries that actually affect your credit score are hard inquiries where you're actually applying for credit. Soft inquiries where you're either checking your own score or you're checking maybe through Credit Karma or one of the regular credit reporting, that doesn't count as an inquiry on your credit report. Most of the time, inquiries are not a big part of your credit score. However, if you are in the process of buying a house and you're in mortgage lending and mortgage underwriting, do not have your credit run for any reason other than what your mortgage person tells you to do. And then the last part of your credit score, it's about 10%, is various things. It could be collection accounts, public records like bankruptcies or liens that are out there, tax liens, the types of accounts that you have all go into this various 10%. And the credit scoring algorithm is different. You can have up to 300 credit scores at any given time. So this various amount can really be different depending on what